Hey everyone, it's LockheartQT here, and today I finally got to play the recent Stellar Blade demo on PS5, so here are my overall thoughts about how I got on in the demo and what I played. So Stellar Blade is an action-adventure hack-and-slash game developed by Shift Up and published by Sony. The overall gameplay is sort of a mix between Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, Nier Automata, and a Souls-like game, sort of like Sekiro I think is probably the most accurate comparison to make here, although I was expecting something definitely more akin to Platinum Games style of action games. It's a really nice blend of stylish action games such as Devil May Cry and Bayonetta with the more strategic gameplay of a Souls-like game. It's a really nice blend between the two because not only do you have that really soulful, in-your-face, stylish action, but you also have the strategic blocking, parrying, dodging that you would see in a Souls-like game. In the demo you get to play around 30 minutes at the beginning of the game where we're introduced to Eve, the main playable character, and a couple of side characters as well. The game also takes place in an apocalyptic Earth where humanity has become extinct and creatures now roam the empty planet and world, similar to Nier Automata. That's, the general gist I got for it. The overall, I guess presentation was a mix between Nier and The Last of Us, I think, from what I played in the demo. But in the demo we play as Eve, who, due to certain circumstances that I'm not going to spoil in the video, in the demo she finds herself with a character called Adam in a very similar setup to Nier Automata, where he sort of guides around in a drone accompanying you, the main playable character, as you run around exploring levels as well as engaging in combat. And speaking of combat, the game revolves around using light and heavy attacks to take down enemies, but where Stellar Blade becomes completely unique on its own right is its stagger mechanics. Here you can use perfect parries, dodging enemies, and attacking enemies to break down little yellow meters under their health bar to stagger them. Effectively, say for example an enemy has like 4 yellow squares under its health bar, if you use 4 perfect parries at the right time, this will completely stagger the enemy, and it works really well on bosses as well, as they'll pretty much just flop to the ground, and you have it essentially allows for more time for attacking opportunities and allows you to deal more damage. It definitely takes a few tries to get the hang of the overall mechanics, but once you do, it's really satisfying to pull off perfect parries to stagger enemies. Eve also has what's known in the game as beta abilities, which can vary from blinking behind enemies to miss undodgeable attacks, as well as abilities focused on dealing more damage over time. There's also beta abilities mixed up with elemental abilities, and there's a lot more that the game doesn't, it kind of shows off but it doesn't let you unlock, because at the end of the day this is a demo and it's not meant to be the full game, it's meant to be a demo of course. In the demo you play the beginning of the game, but once you beat this you then unlock a boss challenge from later on in the game, which allows you to use abilities found later on in the game, as well as a long range gun type weapon, which in my opinion was really cool to use. It's kind of similar to how the drone was in Nier Automata, and effectively Eve gets like a gun on her arm and she can use the gun ability to sort of target enemies' weak spots, and it's just really cool to use. I really like the fact that she wields a sword and she can also use a gun type for sort of long range attacks as well. I think it's a really nice blend of the two. As well as the combat in the game actually focuses on hidden collectibles in exploration. Stellar Blade feels like a modern take on the Platinum Games formula, as well as Capcom 3D action-adventure games from the 2000s and 2010s. In exploration you can find hidden chests, upgrades, as well as camps scattered throughout sort of the midway point of each level. Here in the camps you can save the game, rest up, change the background music, you can purchase items from vending machines and much more. One other thing that I really appreciated, in camps there's like a little stool that you can sit on, and this is completely optional. You actually sit on the stool to replenish your health, and if you do so you actually get at some of the camps, depending on where they are in the story, you get certain extra cutscenes that tell you a bit more of Eve and Adam's backstory, which is really nice as it's optional, so you can miss it. But for those who are like me, I'm the type of person in games where I like to press every button and do everything. It was just a really nice thing to have in the game. Although there wasn't a lot to explore in the demo, the short level that I did actually play in the demo made me really interested to see how exploration will be fleshed out in the final game. In terms of exploration, you have branching paths in the levels, as well as, you know, the typical yellow paint objects that you can use to climb up and down on. There's the fact that if you're above an enemy, you can like stealth attack them as well in the more open areas, which is a nice touch. There's also a cool puzzle where you have to get to a ladder and you have to dive into the water, because you can swim in this game, and you effectively get into the water to push a plank towards a ladder, which was a really nice touch. I love old school puzzles and games like that. As well as you can find like dead bodies around the map, and some of them have codes on them which open doors which can be used to shortcuts to sort of get back to where you were in the level before, as well as hidden chests, which again was a really nice touch. And this seems like it's a game that's specifically designed to be replayable level by level, as well as being meant for trophy hunters and people who want to do 100% runs, which is most likely what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be most likely trying to 100% this game and getting all the upgrades and collectibles and everything like that. Now finally, I did play the game on story mode as well as normal mode, and it felt like once I got the hang of the controls and the mechanics that it was a bit too easy on both difficulties. Obviously story mode's going to be the easier difficulty, but in my opinion normal was a bit too easy as well, so hopefully the harder difficulties in the final game can make it a bit more challenging. Now, once you beat the demo, you also get a boss challenge, which, like I mentioned earlier, it's a sort of segment from later on in the game, about midway through, I'd probably say, from what was shown off, where you get a lot more abilities from later on in the game, and just that was really cool to play. They didn't have to do that, but I like it when demos like that. I believe the Final Fantasy 16 demo did something very similar, so it's nice to see that as well. So overall, I really like Stellar Blade. From a performance and graphical standpoint, the game definitely stands up, even if certain parts, especially with like the jiggle physics, are a bit weird and a bit overbearing at times. In terms of the character design, I do like the character design. I really loved the voice acting, particularly for Eve. I thought whoever her voice actress is did a incredible job, and in terms of the overall game, how it looked, it kind of reminded me of Nier and The Last of Us in terms of how the game actually looked in terms of its like environmental design. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed the demo. I had a really good time with what I played. I think that's probably the most important thing overall. And although I was expecting this game to be a bit more stylish like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, it's really nice to see, you know, Souls-like elements to make it a bit more difficult and a bit more challenging, because at the end of the day, you know, playing something like Bayonetta on the easier difficulty, you can definitely blitz through that game really quickly. So it's nice to see that something like Stellar Blade is going to try and be a bit more challenging. Again, we're going to have to wait and see what the final game has in store, but from what I've seen so far with trailers and demos and gameplay and everything, the game definitely looks great. And it's going to have no microtransactions, nothing like that, so it's definitely refreshing to see something like that in the modern landscape of gaming. Anyway everyone, thank you so much for watching the video today, and tell me in the comments below, what did you think of the Stellar Blade demo? Have you had a chance to play it? And if you haven't, what do you think about the game overall? And thank you so much for watching, and for more Stellar Blade content, because I will definitely be covering the game when it comes out, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.